Big 12 Radio, Big 12 Today, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios, and our spring preview series continues because there is no football offseason. Modelo fan rule number 31, there is no offseason, only research. And we've done a research to talk BYU football. Kalani Sitake, the head football coach of the BYU Cougars, is joining us now here on Big 12 Radio. And, let's start with the quarterback position because what a whirlwind these last 12 months have been for you at that position in particular. To think that Bear was able to do what he did, and at this time last year he was in Palo Alto, California. I mean, it's incredible for a true freshman to do that without even spending spring in Provo. How much more will he benefit from being on campus this spring?
Oh, yeah, I think it will benefit him a lot more because the opportunity to just understand the entire playbook. I felt like we had to do that during fall camp, and then I had to do it throughout the season. And then, I give a lot of credit to A-Rod running the offense and being a quarterback coach. It's not an easy task, but I mean, if you watch our season, you kind of looked how we went from game one and slowly progressed along the way and ended with the bowl game where I think that was like the crowning moment of, hey, he now understands the whole offense, but that was our last game of the year, so as we went along, it was good to see him progress, but most of the time you want to do that from January until August. And so now we'll be able to, fine tune it a little bit more and then look into a little bit more of the intricacies and details of everything. But I'm just really pleased and just, surprised a little bit, but more excited about his learning ability and his football IQ, the opportunity that he is to just shine on game day, and then his work ethic and his humility has been amazing. So now going into spring ball, we can see a lot of it in the last 2 months, just during the off season, how much progress he's made, and I'm really, really excited about his future.
Coach, can you elaborate on what you see from him in terms of those leadership characteristics off of the field?
Yeah, I think the part of being a great leader is also knowing when to follow and how to follow. I think he sets the example that way, and then his level of humility. I think everybody knows that he's the starting quarterback, and even when he was a true freshman and during the season last year, the way he dealt with the spotlight and the way he dealt with the praise. I think that's something that I don't know if you can teach that. That's something that you inherently have from within and the way you were raised. And so I think it helps for him having brothers that have played, Division I, having an older brother that played actually quarterback and then was a starter. So you're learning from those lessons, and then the mentoring that he got from his coaching staff here, I think, has been complementing his skills. And so when you put all that together and you put him in a team where guys are able to rally around a true freshman and make him feel like, he's actually earned his spot through competition, and then they're there to help complement and support him, I think only great things can happen. But I don't know if it would work if he weren't so humble. I think the fact that he was still trying to learn as much as he can, that's something that was already within him before he got here. And so really appreciate how he was raised.
Yeah, I don't want to make this all about Bear because there's a lot I want to get to with you, but what did he learn? How much did he learn in that Big 12 championship game experience?
Yeah, I think the biggest issue is those mistakes, especially against great teams like Texas Tech, you can't make a lot of mistakes. I think you can get away with a few here and there, but those great teams, man, they capitalize on any mistakes that you can make, and it was a difficult but a great learning experience for the entire team, even for myself, and I think that helped us even going into the bowl game against Georgia Tech. I thought it was a great opportunity for us to learn. We're all about trying to get better, and so we have to be able to use those lessons and try to do things a little differently in 2026.
Well, you guys put together a loaded recruiting class. 24/7 Sports Composite gives your incoming transfer class top 15 nationally. So what were you looking to address in the portal, and tell us about your haul?
I think the most important part was to retain the guys that we wanted and the production that we have already within the team. And then the second part was bringing in young men, whether they're in high school. I mean, the majority of our high school signees are already enrolled and already in on campus, except for one that's joining us in June. And then we have a small group, another group that's going on their missions right out of high school, and they'll join us in 2 years. And then we had to, bring in some portal guys. I mean, that's not. I don't know if we'll ever make a huge living off of that, but we have to bring guys in that are a great fit, and maybe a lot of it was we didn't get them the first time, and but we knew about all these young men. None of them were really surprises to us. We had a relationship with them before, and knew about them before, and so the majority of them we wanted to make sure they're still a great fit to our program and our culture of our team, and then that means even playing time. So we have to be able to give them a chance to compete. Now nothing's given here. You have to earn it. And so it was nice to have these guys join us. That it seems like they're already part of our group, and it was an easy transition into our culture.
Obviously this doesn't, well, it does impact you and your team, but I want to get your thoughts on, your former boss, and I know a friend of yours, Cal Whittingham, taking the job at Michigan. I guess, how surprised were you? And with the whole situation that went down at Utah, it does impact BYU in losing your defensive coordinator, Jay Hill. So I guess the first part is, for your friend and a mentor, I'd imagine, going and taking the Michigan job, now not being the Utah head coach, and then the second part of that, taking your defensive coordinator with him.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the coaching off season. Is you always wonder about who may leave your current staff and how you're going to replace them. So I already think those scenarios up in my mind. If this was to happen, who am I going to bring in and who I'm going to look at? And it played out exactly how I thought it would when losing Jay Hill. Obviously, he's a great friend of mine, so I don't like losing my buddies, but I understand why he made the move, and I wish him the best of luck. We're still friends. We still keep in contact, and he's gonna. I appreciate the things that he did for us here. I'm able to hang on. I mean, he and Gennaro Guilford, our corners coach, went to Michigan, and I felt like we brought in some guys that are going to really gel with our group. They already have, and they fit right in line with what we do and what I do defensively. The corners coach, Lewis Walker, is a guy that I coached in college, and a guy that I helped mentor. So that's going to be easy. And then DeMario Warren, I've known him for a lot of pretty much his whole coaching career, and been connected to him. So these are guys that I already knew before, and I already kind of had a plan. I knew that they would be a great fit. And then Kelly Papinga taking over as coordinator. I knew that's what I wanted to do when Jay left. I just had to kind of do my due diligence and kind of check in with everybody and see what options that were out there. But that was my first initial thought from the beginning, anyways, and we moved pretty quickly on it. I think that was a big sign of how we were able to retain all our players, is because they saw the moves that we made, and they saw the people that we could bring in, and it made it easy for them to say no to a lot of different places, and we retained, I mean, everybody that we wanted, and that was a good thing. And then in regards to Kyle, I mean, Kyle's my guy, but maybe a surprise, because I think we all thought that he would stay at Utah, but I don't know all the details of the conversations that went on with him and administration at Utah and things like that. But I do know Morgan Scally's going to do a great job at Utah. He's a friend of mine. We worked together for a decade up there too, and so when I coordinated, he was my right hand guy. So he's going to do great there as a head coach, and and Kyle's going to do his thing in the Big Ten. And I understand the appeal of going to that conference and the draw, but I love this conference, and I love how we represent. I love the leadership in this conference, and I just honestly just really love where BYU is in this conference and the connection that we have. And so that made it a lot easier for me to want to be here and remain here for the long run. And I'm settled. I'm ready to do this. I mean, I'm gonna. This is my career. I'm gonna be here for the rest of my time.
Yeah, you reportedly said no to that conference.
Yeah, this is this is home, and BYU's home, and the Big 12's home for me.
Coach, I know that spring football after the portal, and it's a grind. What do you enjoy most about this time of year?
Man, it's football. It's like you go through this stretch where there's no football, and I get it. Basketball is exciting too because I love basketball. I mean, I was a basketball player 100 pounds ago too. So I get it. I love basketball, and but the competition, there's nothing like football, and so when it's just a little different now. Like I mentioned, the rosters are not as there's a roster limits now, and so I don't know if you could really go as big as you normally would. I don't know if any team could really do that in spring. And maybe it's a shift in type of practices because you have a veteran group that's here, and then you have a bunch of new guys that you want to see them prove themselves. And so, how do you do that? You find different ways to maybe separate type of practices and things like that, and then you factor in sports science and all that. I mean, these guys aren't in great shape, so they're not in great football shape. It's like you look at a prize fighter; those guys aren't always in great shape to fight. So our season starts in August. This is just a time where we can actually do some sparring and do some things that we normally wouldn't do. And but the thing that I like most about it is that this gives us a chance as coaches to work with our group, especially with all the new coming players that are here on campus. Get used to our style of teaching, get used to our expectations on the field, and then this is kind of just like a preview of what we're going to see in fall camp.
Yeah, and I'm curious for kind of your approach. Every coach is different in terms of the psychological or the mental approach to spring. We were just talking, like you guys started early, February 27th, a lot earlier than many others, and you don't exactly have a spring game. You have more of an alumni game that at least gets fans out and gets people excited and amped up during spring for BYU football. So what is, just sort of lay down your approach to spring, and then in that, like, will you have do the competitions start in spring? Like, will you for wideout, there's a lot of open at wideout now with all the losses. So is that, a time for competition? Offensive line, you've got an opening at center, it appears. So is spring time for competition to start as well?
Yeah. I mean, our center returns. He's our All-American center. Bruce Mitchell returns.
Sorry, yeah, you're right.
But the other old line positions. We have a couple positions that we're going to be competing for. But on O line, the receivers, yeah, we need to see who's going to be. I don't know if you can really earn a starting spot in spring. I think you have to. You kind of just let's just see who the main players are going to be that are going to compete for all those the extra time. But it is competition. It gets intense. It just has to be different. And then there's guys that we just need to see what they can do in a live scrimmage situation. It's not going to be a lot of the guys that you probably saw in the fall, but we need to see some of the newbies. We need to see what they can do on the field and see how they how they're able to take in the coaching that we give them and apply it to the field. And so I think there's going to be different types of practices for different. There's a veteran group and guys that we already know that can do it, but they all also need to work. And then there's a new group that you're like, okay, we think these guys can do it, but this gives us a chance to get them there. But we start spring early so that I think for a couple of things. Number one is if they do get they get banged up, gives us a little bit more time to get them ready for fall camp because it is a violent and intense game. And then it's also like kind of like that dead moment where things are everyone's kind of getting ready for March Madness and stuff like that. And so as they go through the tournament, we're kind of just sitting there playing some football along the way, So I think and then it goes into the time that we have off, the mandatory time that we have off for our guys, and then before you know it, we'll get back to summer conditioning, and then the season's right around the corner. So it's all part of the routine and the schedule. It just it's just a little different now because of the changes to the roster. I think that's the biggest issue is that we're limited with our roster size now, and that's everybody.
Well said. Kalani Sitake, BYU head football coach. Thanks so much, as always, for your time, Kalani. Be well, man. Thank you.
You guys are awesome. Appreciate it.
You're the
Thanks,
best.
Coach.
Kalani Sitake joining us in our spring football previews. We're talking BYU football here on Big 12 Radio. Big 12 Today, presented by Modelo. Heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios.